Hello, everyone. I would like to first introduce myself. My name is Cedric Joseph Mandap. You can just call me Sir Ced or Sir Cedie for short. So, welcome back to our course. This is the first lesson, I believe, for understanding the self. Okay, this time let's discuss philosophical perspective of the self. So, what is philosophy? Philosophy is derived from the Greek word philos and sophia, which literally means love for wisdom. So, it is the study of knowledge or wisdom. It is through the study of acquiring knowledge by rational thinking and inquiries that involves in answering questions regarding the nature and existence of the man and the world he or she lives in. So, it is important and imperative to look or to understand the various explanations from different philosophers, okay, for us to trace back how does the self had formed or how does it evolve, how does we interpret the ourself now. So some philosophers has described the nature of the self to be rational or moral or possesses consciousness, okay, through the evidence that we have a thinking process, whether man's self-identity is made possible by his consciousness, okay, or other means. Others would question that the presence of the self, okay, therefore there is no self but only a bundle of constantly changing perceptions, or the concept of the soul. No, how does the self achieve or has soul? How does he possess soul? No, which is the essence of the self that can make man immortal. Okay, so these are some of the concepts that we can understand as we move on to the different philosophers. Okay, let's first learn more about the concept brought by Socrates. So Socrates considered as the first martyr of education, knowledge, and philosophy. Okay, because during the first or during the century times, no, so he still continues to educate those people or those young minds, no, even though he is condemned upon doing it. So he still chose to teach them, even though he will be penalty by death. So, in that notion, he was considered to be the first martyr of education. So, for Socrates, he is concerned with the problem of the self. Okay, because he tries to question himself over and over again. So, therefore, he has this dualistic approach towards the self, wherein every man is composed of the body and the soul, and therefore soul should come before the body. Okay, so I believe everyone, or not really everyone, but most of us believes that our self consists of body and the soul. Right after our our physical life here, our soul continues to exist. Okay, so, the philosophy of Socrates underlies the importance of the notion of knowing oneself for him. No? So, man's goal in life is to obtain happiness, and such goal motivates us to act towards or avoid the things that could have negative repercussions in our lives. So, he again stresses the importance of questioning and knowing more about oneself. So, through knowing oneself, one person could be able to achieve happiness. Okay, so sa kanya din nanggaling yung famous quote na unexamined life is not worth living. Okay, therefore, our life right now needs to be examined over and over again. And through examining it, we can discover more about ourselves. Okay, and in that note, we can find meaning of our life. Okay, so the more we know, the more we discover, the more we question in life, no? There are the more we try to find things for ourselves, no? The more questions will rise up for us. So our life is non-stop, no? Full of questioning according to Socrates. So we question our life, ourselves over and over again, no? And on that note, no, the learning process of ourselves is unstoppable in our lifetime, even though we achieve old age. Okay, so Socrates believes that the answer to our pursuit in knowing ourselves lies in our own abilities and wisdom, and that the only way for us to understand ourselves is through internal questioning, no, or introspection. So we try to internally, no, ask ourselves question like, who am I? What's my purpose in this world? We can also connect this to existentialism, no, our existence. What's the reason why we are existing in this world? What's my purpose in doing this job? Okay, or what's the purpose of me doing this, of being a student? No, there are several questions that could rise up in internal dialogue, okay, or in internal questioning. The method of questioning oneself, no, is popular in the academe, no. So teachers refer this as the Socratic method of learning, wherein the teachers will ask the students question, and from that action, learning happens, because through questioning, we could even actualize the potentials of the students. We could confirm if the learner really learned. Okay, so this is to actualize the potentials through the means of questioning. Okay, for Plato, okay, Plato is a student of Socrates, no? He included his work, the learnings and ideas shared to him by his teacher Socrates. So he is known to be the father of the academy. So the academy is what we call the universities of today. So the universities has become the prototype of the academy. So for Plato, he emphasized the dichotomy between the ideal or the world of forms and the material world we are living in. So, okay, these two worlds are different, no? So, the material world is what we have right now. So, it is represented by some forms, no? By some world of forms on the ideal world. So, Plato also believes in the division of a person's body and soul, which forms the person as a whole, aside from the material things and that could be observed and associated with a person. So for Plato, he referred this as the three parts of the soul. Okay, for the soul, okay, being the most intellectual part of the being, because the soul can think. Okay, the soul can do rational thinking. So the first part will be appetitive soul. Appetitive soul is the Plato's idea or part of the person that is driven by the desire and the need to satisfy oneself. So we could go back, or you could also link this to the theory of Sigmund Freud of the id, ego, and the superego, wherein our soul, no, our soul strives to have desire or strives for those or strives that physical satisfaction of the body. So this satisfaction both involves physical needs and pleasures or desires. So as long as the person find an object or situation good or satisfying, the appetitive soul can drive the person to lean towards those objects and situations. Like for example, when the person enjoys drinking, okay, like drinking, so the person experiences satisfaction in drinking. That's why he will go or move forward or continue to do that. So he find pleasure to it. Therefore, it drives the person to drink, no? Over and over again. Okay, that is one part. Second will be the spirited soul. The spirited soul is the part of the soul that can be attributed to the courageous part of the person. One wants to do something or to right the wrongs that they observe. We could analyze this as the superego on Freud's theory. No, spirited soul are very competitive and it's very active. His competitiveness drives one to expect positive results and winning. So this strives to identify our behavior to be moral. Okay, so rational soul is the last part of the soul that could be said as the driver of our lives, no? This is the part that thinks and plans for the future. Okay, this is the conscious mind. What is happening right now? What are you thinking right now? Okay, that is your rational soul. So, it is your consciousness, the conscious mind that decides what you will do or when will you do it or what will be the possible results one could have depending on their action. So, this is the conscious mind, okay, part of the soul. Your consciousness is intact. So for Saint Augustine, he follows the idea that God, okay, is the source of our happiness. He also relates that our existence to God should be modeled, okay, modeled in terms of his likeness. So Saint Augustine was a saint and a philosopher of the church. Okay, he referred man as bifurcated in nature. Bifurcated means that the person is also dichotomous. So there are two aspects of a person. One is imperfect or earthly. Okay, this is our imperfect or our earthly life as we live here on earth. And the second one is the capability of reaching immortality. Once we are already dead, then therefore there is a possibility that we could live eternal life. So those are the two aspects of a person by Saint Augustine. So encompasses us all that everything will be better if we are with God. So according to him, the goal of the person is to attain the communion of the divine. And the real world is where God is. Okay, so he believes that our notion of ourselves and the idea that we have of our existence come from the highest or the higher form of sense in which bodily senses may not perceive or understand. And the more one doubts and questions his life means that the person is actually living. So he stresses here that it's important for us to continually um, ask ourselves about our existence, no? To continually doubt or question about our life, because through that, that's how a person is actually, it's like the sign that the person is actually living, no? That he has or he possesses a soul and a rational mind, because he tries to continually ask himself over and over again, or continually ask his purpose or his existence. Okay, so for Descartes, okay, René Descartes is a French philosopher known to be the father of modern philosophy through the use or through his radical use of the systematic and early scientific method to aid his ideas and assumptions. This is known to be the Descartes system. Okay, so Descartes is also the proponent of the methodological doubt, which simply meant of a continuous process of questioning what we perceive and accepting the fact that doubting or asking questions are a part of our existence. So he referred it as the methodological doubt. So it's he. I think this is also part of of the concept of Saint Augustine, or of the belief of Saint Augustine, wherein we always or people strive to ask questions about his or her own existence. So hyperbolical doubt, okay, which also represents the doubts that the existence of his or own physical body. So Descartes also referred to it as the hyperbolical doubt, that our body is really is this, or do we have another body existing? Do we really have a soul? So that is the hyperbolical doubt by Descartes. Descartes is known for his statement, which is known as the cogito ergo sum, which means in English as I think, therefore I am. This is a very famous philosophical line. According to him, a person is comprised of both mind and the body. The body that perceives from the different senses, and the mind that thinks and questions or even doubts what the body has experienced. So therefore, we cannot always trust our senses, in turn, what we perceive as who we are or the essence of our existence. Again, we are born to be rational being, okay, and should focus more on the mind and explain that the more we think and doubt what we perceive from our senses, and the answer that came from such thinking, rational thinking, or doubting leads to better understanding of ourselves. So therefore I think, therefore I am, no, how we strive to derive our knowledge of ourselves, we could lead to a better understanding more of ourselves, even up until we even up until we can reach old age, no, or whatnot. Okay, Descartes also implied that being in a constant doubt regarding one's existence is a proof that a person actually exists. No, we could also relate this to the thinking of other philosophers that in our journey in life, we continually doubt our existence in this world, no? So therefore, if we think it over and over again, our rational mind is working. No, therefore, it means, or it is a sign that we really exist as a human person. John Locke, okay, is an English philosopher, a physician. He is considered to be the father of classical liberalism because some of his works on the subject matter had paved the way to several revolutions of the monarchs and several organizations before. So, for him, identity explained in terms of psychological connection between the life stages. So, for John Locke, he has the concept of memory, from which our memory from our life being a child was had evolved right now. So why you are hardworking right now is because you feel rewarded before when you were a child. Perhaps you receive a medal or a certain reward, no, from a person or from a particular someone. No, from that memory you have, it evolved over time through your life stages. Okay, up until this time, then you develop that personality of being conscientious, or of that personality of being diligent or hardworking. Okay, it has a root source why you become like that through your memory. So his work on the self is most represented by his concept of the tabula rasa. This means a blank slate, no? So, okay, as we live or as we are born in this world, we are on the blank slate from which there we have no knowledge of the world. Okay, we don't have knowledge of what the world can give us. Okay, but there is also some theories like from Karen Horney wherein a person has this basic anxiety. Okay, has he lived into this world? No, he has this thinking that there is a fear from what the society can give him or what can be his experiences. No, that could be a possibility of psychological disorder over time that can be developed on the person. Okay, so Locke believed that the experiences and the perceptions of a person is important in the establishment of who the person can become. So unlike the other philosophers' view of the human experiences and senses, Locke does not disregard the experiences of the person in the identification and the establishment of who we are as a person. Therefore, his memory of who he is when he is a child is considered to be relevant even up until now. As you grow old right now, no, those memories you have, those good or bad memories, has an impact to who you are today. So Locke also stated that the person is born with knowing nothing and that he is susceptible to stimulation and accumulation of learning from the experiences, failures, the different references and observations of the person. Okay, so this will really suffice or will really support tabula rasa. Okay, wherein our mind can still is considered to be blank up until to our conception, and once we are born, therefore we can have these memories or we can have these experiences to be written down in our minds or in this blank slate. Okay, let's go to David Hume. David Hume focused his work in the field of empiricism or skepticism and naturalism. So, for David Hume, he connotes that all knowledge is derived from our human senses. Our human senses, our vision, our hearing, our taste, no, our touch, no, our what else? Our hearing and so on. So according to him, there is no permanent self. That since our impressions of things are based from our experiences, and from such impressions we can create our ideas and knowledge that can lead to the arguments that since our impressions and ideas changes, it may improve or totally be replaced, means that one can change occur the same phenomenon of will happen to one's idea of who he or she, what we can do. So there is no permanent view of ourselves. No, our experiences contribute more. The impressions, no, can create ideas and knowledge. Therefore, our self right now is tentative. Okay, it's still in development. Hume reiterated that when saying that there should be no permanent concept of the self, he said that the person is asked the question like who you are. Okay, how are you? Who you are. So this question, no, can has a connotation to the bundle theory or the collection of impression. So impression, it means that this is what you feel in different situations. So our impressions are different in different situations, no? So like for example, what will you feel if you are talking with your siblings? What will you feel if you're talking with your friends? What will you feel if you're talking with your enemies? So we have different impressions. Okay, as we experience different things in different situations. Okay, that is for the impressions. These are vivid, the product of our direct experiences, our emotions, no? So that is on the consisting of impressions. Ideas naman are the copies of impressions. Okay, so this is in the working of our imagination. So even though we don't have direct experience of this, but it could be still become a copy of the impressions we have. Like for example, how does it feel to ride in a roller coaster? So because of your experience, direct experience before, of riding from a roller coaster, you could say that riding in a roller coaster is exciting. Riding in a roller coaster is fearful. No? So our impressions before could therefore lead to the ideas we can have. Okay? So Hume also connote that each person tends to answer different impressions such as good, happy, optimistic, contented, sad, and etc. Generally, okay, they apply to who you are now, but at the same time, the characteristics might change from time to time. So just like what I said, no, these impressions of good, happy, contented, no, this could change really over time. So if someone okay, or if someone knew you entire life to be happy and have a positive outlook but suddenly look sad and discontented, can we say that the person you seeing is not your neighbor anymore? No, therefore it's still the same person but he has different impressions or emotions, no, under the impressions. Okay, that is for David Hume. For Kant, Immanuel Kant is a German philosopher that is known for his works on empiricism and rationalism. Okay, Kant argued that the awareness of the different emotions that we have, the impressions and behavior is only part of ourself. Okay, so he also mentioned that to fully understand who we are at a certain level of consciousness or sense, that we use our intuition. This will synthesize the experiences, the impressions, and perceptions of ourselves that can pave the way to define and know who we really are. So he mentioned the intuition, no? The intuition level. Okay, this is part of our senses, the intuition. Okay, Kant argued that the sense called transcendental apperception, no, is an essence of our consciousness that provides basis for understanding and establishing the notions of self through synthesizing the accumulation of different experiences, no, our intuition, and how does our imagination goes. So through this process, we could be able to make a synthesis of all of our experiences and all of our thinking, what happens to us. No, we could process our emotions better. Our consciousness, no, has a great impact for learning more about ourselves, of defining who we really are. So it means that the idea goes beyond what we experience, our direct experience, but still be able to become aware of. For example, the idea of time and space. Okay, we may not be able to observe the movement of time and the vastness of space, but we are still capable of understanding the concept based from what we can observe, no, as their representation. So, for example, we are not exactly immersed in a universe, but we still have the capacity to understand the concept of the universe. How does the universe is born, or how does it is created, no? We still have the capacity to understand it because of the representation of the vicarious experiences we have through our observation, perhaps from a video you watch, or from a certain lesson from your teacher, no? So you have the capacity to understand these concepts even though you did not experience it forehand. Okay, let's go to Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud is the father of psychoanalysis. Okay, and he has known works on the study of the human nature and the unconscious. Okay, Freud believed that man has different construct of personality that interacts with each other, and along with his concepts of the different levels of the consciousness, or of the conscious minds. Okay, it then provides a deeper understanding of how a person develops a sense of the self. So, he is known for the three levels of mental, okay, not the mental life, but the three levels of consciousness. Okay, this is the id, the superego, and the ego. As you can remember, I did associated this to a philosopher before, no? So, the id, also known as the pleasure principle, no? This is the one responsible for the urges, okay, wherein we strive to gratify ourselves, no, driven by the pleasure principle. So the superego is the conscience, no? This is the moral principle. The superego upholds justice and do what is morally right and socially acceptable actions. So the superego is involved in the notion of right or wrong, no? Like for example, when your mother says that uh, going outside is wrong, okay, then therefore you consider it as wrong because an authority figure like your mother says that it is wrong. And for example, cheating is wrong, no? Because our teachers states that honesty is the best policy. Therefore, if we cheat, we become dishonest, no? Therefore, it's not right and it is not acceptable. The ego is the police or the mediator between the id and the superego. This is the what they call as the realistic principle, wherein it operates within the boundaries of our reality, and the primary function of it is to maintain the balance of the impulse of the id, okay, of that pleasure principle, and the superego, or of that moral principle. Just connote this as the ego that balances our drives, no, all of our urges, and that action of being always right, no, of being morally right, no, of being upholding justice all the time. Because I believe to become a healthy person, no, one should learn how to balance these things, because these are all aspects of our personality. Okay, it's normal for us to have these urges, have these aspects in our personhood. Okay, so Freud believed that we are all a byproduct of our experiences in the past, no? So he always tries to refer a man to he always tries to connote that sex and aggression is part of our personality, no, and that our actions are driven by the idea of resisting or avoiding pain and are molded from our need for pleasure or of being happy. Okay, so always remember that in Freud, no, there are always three aspects of personality, no, the id, the superego, and the ego. And the previous experiences we have is important for our personality as it develops over time. So who we are as a person right now, no, our past experiences has a very big impact or as a very big factor of it. Why does we become like this today? Okay? So that is the end of my lesson. I hope you understand a lot of things from the different theories and see you soon next time. Goodbye.